Have you ever noticed the disparity or the big difference between males and females on the higher part of the spectrum? Well, if not, I'm going to get into some common reasons why today, and then also I'm going to cover some characteristics that you parents might be looking for in your younger daughter. All that coming up next. Really, Seb? I'm Deadpool. No, I'm not Spider-Man. I'm Deadpool. Yeah, Christmas gift from my wife. First time wearing it. So soft, so comfortable. Okay, so we're going to get into a couple things today. It's going to be a real simple video. Very general, but it's very important regarding certain topics regarding females and girls on the spectrum. But before I even start with anything, if a child, regardless if it's male or female, has severe autism at an early age, generally speaking, the symptoms and characteristics are going to be consistent. Hence the word severe. They're going to have them, and to the human eye, it will be obvious. So this video is geared more towards level 1 and level 2, which is mild and moderate, okay? So level 3 is severe. Generally speaking, again, you're going to notice that. But a lot of people, or I'm sorry, a lot of females will go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed because of the things I'm about to get into. So let's get started. So, rewind, let's go back to the beginning, like not prehistoric times beginning, but the beginning of autism and when the diagnosis was started. Mr. Asperger was only focusing on boys. Didn't even consider girls to have autism. When I first heard that, I was like, what? That's crazy. I can't believe it. Yes, that was the original concentration, only on boys. And I think a lot of that has to do with some of the reasons why, in this video, that was the case. We've come a long way, but now I just wanted to make a really general video out there to help parents that are possibly wondering about their daughter that might seem a little off and your parental instincts are wanting to research. So a video like this is for you. So let's jump into it. Number one, first and foremost, a big difference between the two in boys and girls are the social skills when they're higher functioning. Normally, boys are going to be a little bit more awkward, a little bit more isolated, and you'll tend to see those characteristics come out around bigger groups or around their peers. Whereas with girls, girls are good. Girls can blend in. Girls can be chameleons. It's almost like a masking, and that's the key word I've always heard is girls can mask a lot of their symptoms. Doesn't mean they don't have them, but they're good at covering them up. Even with peer pressure or things around their friends, they can lie if they need to lie. They can act if they need to act to make sure they fit in. Whereas a lot of times that might not be the case with boys. So that is something that is why in public, to the general eye that people don't really understand or know much about autism, they do not see that or sense it. And then when they find out like, oh, you have autism? Like, I never knew that. So to the females I've talked to and the adult females I've talked to, that is a common trend and a common theme is they are able to mask it and able to hide it. And what that then rolls into is when we talking about the diagnosis, this is why females are so often misdiagnosed. It's not the doctor's fault, but it's because it's very difficult. And there's a lot of different things that can be considered. There's social anxiety is a very common one. OCD will be thrown on them as a label. Depression could be thrown on them. There's a lot of misdiagnosis that happen before, and then later on in life, they're re-diagnosed and finally diagnosed with autism when they choose to get diagnosed for whatever reasons. And then finally, one last thing before I get into the characteristics is regarding females. The common theme I've heard from adult females or teens is this. Yeah, just because I might conduct myself a little differently, just because I might not show the signs as much as others, does not mean they're not having struggles every day, guys. Like, that's one thing I think we need to focus on, have empathy on, have understanding on, is There are mountains they're climbing every day, hills, whatever you want to say. They have their own battles and their own struggles. And just because they might mask it differently or conduct themselves a little differently does not mean it's any different than boys. And I think that's a huge misconception, a misunderstanding in our society. And that's something we need to get out there and educate and spread awareness on, which is the point of YouTube channels like this and all the other great ones on YouTube. Okay, so let's wrap it up for parents that are possibly concerned about their younger daughter. Things to look for that you really can't mask, and that's what I'm going to focus on, because there are things that are just going to jump out, and they're very obvious things. First, one will be IQ. Very high IQ. Now, does this generally mean that your child has autism because they're super intelligent? No, but it's a very common theme. Normally, you have geniuses, and they always ask a ton of questions. Most females who are higher functioning ask lots of questions on why. And they want to understand the world. They look at the world in a different light, and they have a much different perspective, so they're always going to be asking questions because they're so darn intelligent. So that's just a simple one. The next ones are the more obvious tells that, again, are across the board that you can't really mask or cover. First is food. Okay, yes, I get most of our younger kids are very picky. I don't like broccoli, I don't like green beans, yada, 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 right? But you have to pay attention to a much more specific pickiness. Like, we're talking very, very picky, only eating a couple things. And that also goes along with boys, but with girls, it's just much more picky. There's a unique style of how they might eat, mixed with OCD almost, where they have a style, a pattern. They'll eat one part of something, but not the other part. Very intricate, very specific, just something to keep your eye out on. Number two, I think, is the biggest one, and that is another sensory issue, and this noise. A big one is, let's say, a mall. You go with lots of people, tons of different levels of noises going on. Not so much of a big deal to people who aren't on the spectrum, but if you are, sensory noises, that can be very overwhelming because they're taking in all those different sounds, all those different noises. And if you notice any sort of anxiety, stress, ear covering in your daughter, then maybe that's a sign or a tell. A big thing I've learned with a lot of adults are headphones. A lot of adults will wear headphones out to muffle that noise, which is genius because it makes sense. It allows them to go out and experience things without all that stress and anxiety. And then other big things regarding noise, if you're out in public, like for parents that is like a bus or a train, guys. Think about stuff like that. Those are loud, and they also create vibrations. So if your child is near those while they're going by, boom, that will run right through them, and it will shoot and snap off their sensories. And again, stress, anxiety, possibly ear covering. Things to look for, guys, if you are parents. And then let's talk about clothing. Clothing, yes, kids might be picky with their clothing, but we're talking specifics. Very, very picky, telling you like, absolutely not, I'm never gonna wear that. Like, it's torture for them. It hurts, it's uncomfortable, and they will let you know normally. And if they can't let you know, then you have to just pick up on that. And that's why these types of videos are important, because this, a normal texture to you and I can seem fine, but to someone on the spectrum, it can drive them mad because it just rubs wrong, and their senses are so heightened. Kind of like Spider-Man, right, Sebastian? Yeah. I'm not Spider-Man. Yeah, I know Deadpool. But anyways, so those are the main things. Then another one, I'll end it with this. This has nothing to do with senses, but it is transitions. And transitions have to be a little more major, maybe switching place to place. Or big one is schools. I've noticed that is a common theme. Switching from one school to another is very stressful for anybody, but that's something they're not going to be able to really, maybe they can, but I'm just saying in general, maybe they can master that, but that is a big lifetime of transition. So guys, this is my daddy layman's terms. Again, there's much more videos out there. Go check them out. They're all much better than mine. I'm just trying to do my part, help any parents out there that are possibly worrying. Because as parents, we have intuitions, and sometimes we're like, I don't know how I feel about that, and it might be a little off to me. And if you do have that, go with your gut. put in the research and be the best advocate you can for your child, guys. I've learned. So that's it. Everyone have a good day, and we'll talk soon. And if you want to check out some of the other videos I have with my family and I, or some more content videos, feel free. Subscribe. Sign up. And this is Sebastian. Oh, and I'm Deadpool. Oh, Spider-Man. Goodbye.